Okay, good morning, close to afternoon. Thanks for being here. My name is Mike Sauter, and I want to welcome you to our session today on exploring assistive technology and adaptive equipment. And we call it the 101. I'm an alternate media specialist / assistive technology specialist from Saddleback College, and I have been in this field for 20 years now. And it's been an incredible experience being able to serve students with disabilities in this unique field. And I am here with my colleague who can introduce themselves. You want to project or you want the mic?
I can project, but I'll come over. I'll walk in front of that.
Yeah, there you go.
My name is Brian Krause from El Camino College. I'm an AT specialist. I too have been around for a couple hundred years when it comes to technology. A little background, I started off as a student with a disability first and never left. So I give a different perspective when it comes to it as someone who's journeyed through the student disability services as well as being a professional.
Thank you, Brian. So Brian and I put this session together last year, and we presented last year at CAPED. And the idea behind this session was to, we saw that there was a lot of new blood in the field, and we saw that there was a lot of, well, there has been a lot of dissolving of resources and trainings in the field as well. And looking at ourselves and our career and what we've done and what we've been able to do because of the training that we got, because of the mentorships that we were able to have, we've been able to serve students with disabilities. And so we wanted to see if we could put something together to help others that may be new, fairly new, right? Or just have questions about what this all is. Show of hands, please. If you're an AT specialist or alternate media specialist, please. Wonderful, good. Counselor, LD specialist? Oh my goodness, I love it.
Right?
Director? Coordinator?
Fantastic.
Dean?
All right,
No
we were
deans.
going for it, right?
No deans. President? Vice president? No? Good, that means we can talk candidly.
How many have under 5 years experience in disability services?
Excellent.
How many have over 10?
Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Good, cool. All right. So obviously there's QR codes. Please capture the slides and the resources. We are going to throw a lot of resources at you. The idea here was to just like fill this thing full of resources. But I'm so glad to see that the crowd is like half and half, right? Because if you've been doing alt media or assistive tech, you've probably got this question at least once, probably a dozen times. What is it that you do? So how does that work again? So those questions and like I still get them, right? It's a cyclical thing. It happens like probably once every like 3 to 5 years or months, depending on who's in charge. So, okay, so that's the idea is we wanted to just bring a ton of information to you all, right? So some of this may be already familiar, but some of this may be new as well, okay? If you have questions, we will save some time at the end to get to some questions, okay? So please think about some questions that you have. But as far as an overview of the session today, we're going to introduce the different roles, talk about the different roles of the AT specialist and the alternate media specialist. We're going to go through some key softwares and resources, right? And there's going to be a lot of links on there, but don't worry, right? Because if you downloaded the slide, then you downloaded our Google Doc, it's all there, okay? Collaboration, we're going to talk about how we work together within the department. Like, what does that look like? From our perspective, right? And let me be clear, this is our experience, this is our perspective. By no means am I standing up here trying to be the expert of how you should do your job. Every college is different, every climate is different, right? And so you've got to work within your system, obviously. And I know Brian agrees with that statement as well.
100%, yep.
And then we'll talk about some workload management strategies, okay? Okay. The alternate media and assistive technology roles. So let's kind of run through this real quick. We do have a lot of time for this one. I love KPED. They give us a lot of time. So sorry if it feels like I'm talking quick, but there still is a ton of information to go through. Okay, so understanding the roles. The alternate media specialist. I'm going to talk about the alternate media specialist because it's a bulk of my job. But I did list both job titles for me. So I do both on my campus. And some of you may be doing both, right? And some of you may be only doing one or maybe spending more time in one than the area. But so the alternate media specialist, right? We are the person in charge of altering or converting instructional materials into accessible formats, right? For specifically students with disabilities, for their accommodations. And what does that mean, right? So we set up the process, the workflow of bringing textbooks and course materials into a variety of different formats for students. The processes that we follow, right, generally are the same across campuses, but they may be a little bit different depending upon certain factors. Textbooks, when I started, man, we were cutting and scanning textbooks all day, right? Which, honestly, we got really good at. We set up a process. We got maybe a big old guillotine in the duplicating center and got access to that thing. I still have all 10 of my fingers, so I did a pretty good job. But so we would do that, right? And convert that textbook into either large print, Braille, electronic formats, audiobooks using Kurzweil or Read and Write. And today, it's different, right? I think I've scanned 2 books in the last year, right? So most of the material is digital now, coming from publishers. We still go to the publishers and contact them. However, what's crazy is that it still takes the same amount of time, right? I almost wish we can go back to scanning books because then I can get the book, scan it, cut it, rebind it, give it back to the student in like 2 days. Where now I've got to wait for a publisher to respond, and that could take, well, what do you tell students? 1 to 2 days, weeks, maybe. So it still takes time. Okay, so as far as the regulations that go behind this, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, 1974, 73, I should put my glasses on, and also the section for the California Ed Code. That's what established this position. That's what established the rules behind this. We also had some guidelines from the Chancellor's Office that you can get access to. If you haven't seen these guidelines, it's wonderful because it should be describing your job and your role, right? So if no one knew what to tell you to do on your first day, that document there is the answer. And then that document has been amended back in 2018. There was a statewide audit back in 2016, 17. That was painful. If you went through it, it was painful because we knew on the ground that there were some real shortcomings in how we were delivering the material and what we were doing. And the audit exposed that. Right? And the colleges that went through this, thank you for your pain because you felt like the hurt. Because your name was right there, right? But we all were behind you in that because we were all in that same boat. But what it also did is it provided us an opportunity to amend these original guidelines and say, this is how the process actually works. This is what it really looks like. Right, and so we allowed for this changing of like the timelines adjustments and specialized formats, things like that. So it was a good thing in the end, but it was painful, right? But the one thing that I want you to take home is you are a professional, right? You are the skilled expert on your campus, right? You may not feel like it, but you are, right? I've had many different directors in my tenure, and all of them have said, I don't know what you do, I don't know how you do it, but I love that you're doing it, right? they trust us. They trust us, right? And that's key. Okay. I'm gonna switch it over to Brian.
Okay.
Here, you want the mic?
Yeah, thanks. Real quick, how many of you doing alt media? Raise your hands. Keep your hands up. If you're still doing alt media and AT, correct? Both? All right, now, how about those that are only doing AT? You're only doing training. See how there's only a few of us in the room? How about any access specialists? Because I know we have one here. So we have a couple. So see how it's like alt media is almost everywhere, and it's a dual job. I'm lucky because 100% of my job is AT specialist. So I train students. That's the majority of my role on campus, as well as working with campus entities as being the expert, air quotes, expert, on accessibility, and at least with technology for students with disabilities. Okay, so Mike already talked about the Individual with Disabilities Act. And we talked a little bit, I'm gonna stay away from this because it throws me off. So, as an AT specialist, focusing on being able to provide training for students with disabilities, right? So I don't have to focus on alt media, which I've done in the past, and we know that that takes up the bulk of your time. So most of you in this room probably don't have enough time to research the latest technology, get up to date on it, where those of us that are AT specialists only, we get to play around with the latest stuff. So Jamworks, Otter, those kind of things, I get to play with the students hands-on. And so I get to see how this stuff really works. It gives an advantage to those of us that are trying to find the technology that fits the students versus just they meet with you real quick and you're just kind of throwing things out there. Because to be honest, those of you that are doing the dual job, there's not enough time in the day, the week, the month, or the year to get your job done. Those of us at AT training, there isn't either. But at least we just focus on the technology aspect of it, which is constantly changing, especially with the AI stuff coming out right now. It's a complete game changer. So let's go on to the next one. Mm-hmm. Software and resources. So Mike, is you gonna go through this list or we got it?
Yeah, you can, if you don't mind, you can take it.
So how many of you are part of the listserv? We got some right here right now? Okay, good. No, I can't read that. That's too small, even with my glasses.
You with your glasses?
California Community College Accessibility Center. This used to be the High Tech Center Training Unit. For those of you that know what that is, this is a great resource for you guys to go to. They have trainings available now and online, and you can reach out to them. There's several self-paced classes that are available out there. A lot of the today's technology have their own. So you can go to like Read and Write. Kurzweil have their own webinars and things like that and their certificates. So you can find information out there. For me, the number one resource is CAPED CSUN conferences. So at least twice a year I get together and we see each other and we discuss things and we talk about it. I'm not a proponent of the listserv or getting on it. I like getting information from it, but it doesn't always pertain to exactly what I'm doing. So I usually reach out to the people I know specifically and get it from them. But the conferences are probably, like I said, the number one. You know, coming to this, where you're at right now, shameless plug, we have another presentation later today on accommodations and are we ready for them? AI accommodations, and then one tomorrow on AI. But this is where you're going to find out the information. We are all the experts in this room. We're also the ones that don't know anything about it as well. Because every scenario we come to, we're the know-it-all and know nothing at all. And that's why I think as a community, AT community, we really need to come together at events like this. So there are professional organizations out there, the Network of Assistive Technology. I know there's a few other ones as well. And then, well, I like how, Mike, you added this one. Problem solving and curiosity. That's a daily thing for us, right? And every time you have a student come in, it's a different problem to solve. And you are going to, if you're in this business, I already know you're curious about it, right? And so every time you have a new student come in with a different question or concern or how it works, hey, great question. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so shameless plug here. At CAPED, we have special interest groups, right? the AT-SIG. I am the co-chair for the AT-SIG, and Aaron over there in the corner is also our co-chair for the AT-SIG. So if you signed up for this conference and you picked the SIG, you probably picked the AT-SIG if you're in this room, right? That we're hoping you did. Now, we made special buttons for all of our AT-SIG members. If you came to our pre-con yesterday, then you should have a button. We brought our extra buttons on the table out at the registration booth, right? So pick up a button if you're an AT-SIG member. The reason we did that is because we want to help build our community back together. And Brian talked about it. He reaches out to a few people that he has. One of our pre-con sessions yesterday that Aaron led was on building your AT community. And it's up to us to do that, right? So know who your people are. And that's what the button is, right? Sit with your people. Talk with your people. You only get this opportunity once or twice a year to sit in a room of AT geeks and geek out. Because you can't do this on campus because no one else understands, right? You may have student workers and they're just like, yeah, I'm just trying to edit your book that you told me I have to edit. Like, you may be lucky enough to have some wonderful assistants as well, right, that are interested in this as well, that you can just dump information on them and they're like, okay, you're doing the dad thing again. But yeah, so the AT-SIG, we're your professional network here. Our AT-SIG meeting is tomorrow morning at 9 something, I think. So please come to that. We're going to talk about what we've done last year as a community and what we're planning to do for the next year, which we are making it up as we go. I don't know if you understand that, but no, actually, we want to engage you and ask you what you guys need. So come to that tomorrow as well. Okay, perfect. Yeah, resources. Right, textbook resources. Man, I listed as many as I can possibly think of. ATN, the Access Text Network, right? What did you guys do when that went down? The panic across the country when the ATN went down, right? Who dusted off their scanner? So the Access Text Network is back up and running, right? That is a publisher request portal. If you're not using it, use it, right? They have developed relationships with publishers so that you can go to them and they'll go to the publisher. They have a large database of books that they're slowly building back up, but you can get the PDF books through the ATN, okay? So they have some EPUBs as well, and then sometimes you get permissions. Now, Pearson did not join back in with the ATN. So if you're looking for Pearson books, you have to go through Pearson's literally clone of the ATN. It looks almost identical. They took the code and they just popped it in and they put Pearson on the top. But you have to get permission for that. And in our process, remember they had a contract we had to sign. So I tried to follow the rules, right? And we are not rule followers. I know this. But I was trying to, and it's like, oh, there's a contract, and then we have a new contracts person. So I sent the contract up to district, and they were like, what's this contract for? Oh my God, what is this going to cost us? And I'm like, it's free. They just want access, and they're like, we don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh my God. So for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, I sat there, I just was patient, and then I finally said, screw it. I signed the damn contract and sent it back in. No, like, okay, whatever. But that's Pearson's process. Okay, and moving on. The ATPC. The Access Text Production Center. If you're not using the ATPC, you're missing out. The ATPC is California's own textbook repository, publisher request form, and Braille production. We are unique in the country to have our own Braille production center. So if you get Braille requests, which they don't come in a lot, but if you do, you should be using the ATPC. You definitely need lead time to use it, but they can do it for you. I see it. Yeah, go for it.
I had a question about ATPC. Is anyone else having trouble getting material back that's not in their database, like for turnaround times?
Their process is the same as anyone's, where they have to go to the publisher, put the request in, and the publisher then responds back. But we are getting some requests that say, we don't have it. when they'll have access to it, you can scan it. If that's what you're getting, yeah, that's,
Yeah, it's just been taking like a pretty long time. Like once ATM went down,
yeah,
ATPC turnaround was not as.
yeah.
I have something to just say like request sent to publisher, and there's no like.
Yeah, that's the way the old system was. You'd go to the publisher and you'd have no idea when it was going to come back. Yeah, if you're waiting a couple of weeks, you should probably look at finding another source. Yeah, dark web it. Bookshare. Bookshare is a repository of books. I'll be honest, it's not my favorite. Right? They only give us EPUBs. They don't give us PDFs. We've tried, we've asked, we've begged, we've pleaded, we've threatened. They don't give us PDFs. They should, right? Their EPUBs are, in my opinion, my last ditch, right? Because their EPUBs even aren't that good, okay? I can do a better EPUB from a PDF on my own. But they do have a lot of novels and untextbook books. Right, so you can get those there, and if you know what you're doing, you can turn those into audiobooks pretty easily for a student using text-to-speech tools. Okay. Learning Ally. Learning Ally. Do you guys remember Learning Ally? They're still out there. They're still doing work, right? You can still get a really good audiobook from Learning Ally. And don't be afraid to check their database because they have a lot of titles. Not a lot of higher ed textbooks, but a lot of other good titles too. So if you're working with students in the lower functioning realm, Learning Ally may be a good resource. Yes?
So are you able to request the same way, like do they contact publishers at all, or is their inventory like locked?
No, they don't contact publishers. They actually do the work in-house. So you can put a request in for a book and they will start a production on that book. Yeah, you're using live readers, right? Okay. Internet Archive. Internet Archive, man, I call it the gray web, right? It's not exactly dark web, but it's not exactly, right? But it's a resource, right? You should be looking at Internet Archive for those books that you can't find. Let's see, Emma. Emma was a new thing that hit when the ATN went down. Anyone join Emma? Okay. Right? They want more from us and they want money at the end of the day. So initially I was like excited and I'm like, we can't pay you money, right? Anyway, so LibreText, Anna's Archive, publishers, right? Going to the publishers themselves, and then ultimately the scanning of books, right? And then the last one on the list is Zero Textbook or OER materials. Wonderfully, horribly, head screaming, right, OERs. So because they're wonderful when they're great and accessible, but when an instructor says, oh, my class is all OER books, and it's nothing but a scanned bunch of PDFs, right, you want to scream because it's not true accessible OERs, right? And we understand, we feel you, right? So how are you working with this in your system? What are you doing within your system to accomplish better OER, not only adoption, but accessible adopted OERs, right? But places like OpenStax, OER Commons, Lumen, those are great examples of good OERs. Okay, I've talked too much. You want to jump in?
Yeah.
Cool.
This is the technology stuff?
This is you.
All right, so those of us that are old enough to remember when it was just software you installed on individual computers and you had to go across campus to do it all, Kurzweil 3000, read and write. They still have those available. I'll be honest that 99% of our students do not download the full versions anymore. They use the extension, so Read the Web works on Chrome extensions, which also means Microsoft Edge as well, because they work well, both sides. Same with Read and Write. They've gotten much better that they can actually read PDFs online. Sometimes it's a little tricky, so Read and Write, or I guess it's, I get used to it, Everyway, right? That's the new, right?
Everway.
Everyway?
Everway.
See, I can't even get used to it. I just want to say text help. They have Orbit Note. So we learned this a couple years ago that you don't even have to have, is anyone in here from, I'm going to say text help until I get to know it. Sorry. All right, good. They give us a resource before. You don't have to pay for the full version of Orbit Note for your students to use it to read PDFs back. So if you're emailing your students PDFs and they want to use Read and Write, they can go to Orbit Note and sign in with your account for your school and be able to read PDFs. Typically inside Canvas, it will work, but right until you hit the publisher button and it goes out to another book, and then none of it works, right? So it's a lockdown system. Kurzweil, same thing. It'll read the web pages. Kurzweil is great for your alt media team if they're saving their books in alternate media format and then uploading it into their universal library. So your students are able to get the books live from there. So if you're not part of the alt media group, and go back and talk to your people and ask them about that. So it's an easy way for your students to get access to their books. They just have to go online, sign into their universal library, and get access to the books that you provide. We don't do that for some reason. Our alt media people like to email people, and they do the SharePoint and that kind of stuff. So I have to train their students to download it and re-upload it back and stuff like that. So Equatio. This is one of the things, when this first came out, I was so on board with it. We just couldn't get people on campus to buy into it because it gets pretty pricey pretty quick. But it will read your math back to you. It'll create math. Your students can use it. It's an online platform. It's fantastic. Do we have anybody in here that uses Equatio? Few people.
Cool.
How many are using Equatio for alt media? Okay. I just wondered because I always thought that would be good too. Immersive Reader. Do we have any fans in here of Immersive Reader? All right, got a few people.
Wait,
Yeah.
I talked to one student this last week that said they like it. One.
And Immersive Reader is great. It's inside Canvas. It will read back to you. For those of us that need to have the book look the same, as soon as you click Immersive Reader, opens up another window and completely blows up the text and everything, but it will read back to you. However, if you have Read or Write or Kurzweil an extension, I bypass Immersive Reader right away and just train them on how to use one of the web extensions to read their Canvas page, and much better voices. They've come a really long way with the AI voices. Matter of fact, during my training, I introduced students to the good and the bad. The good news is they got great voices. The bad news is they have great voices. Meaning, when you go to change from a voice, you could spend 30 to 40 minutes going down a rabbit hole of what voice you want to listen to, and then now you forgot everything you were just reading. So I really try to get students to go through the entire 100 different voices, pick the ones you like ahead of time. So that way, when it's time to change, you can automatically just go with it, because you will get totally squirreled. You'll go down a rabbit hole. And of course, there's their old school OCR with the OmniPage. Abby and Acrobat has their own. So, yeah.
Cool.
Anybody? Yeah, go ahead. I use Read Aloud in Microsoft Edge. Oh, great point. I do too. So Microsoft Edge has Read Aloud built into it, and they've got great voices too. The navigation isn't as easy, but once it starts reading to you, it's great function, and I like it as well. So thank you for bringing that up. We need to add that to it.
Yeah, we should add that to it. So, sorry, Tiff, go ahead.
Just going off of that, the Read Aloud voices are really good, and there's actually a plugin you can get for Valboca that will make your computer and the new Windows identify those voices and be able to use them for making
Did you guys hear that? We can say it louder. So you said Balboca, right? So there's a plug-in.
Yeah, when you go to their webpage to download it, scroll down a little bit, and it talks about it, and it's just one extra little program you download, click yes, and then
You can set up your computer to have access to all the voices through Balboca. It's great. Yeah. Also, those are free voices, right? So Read and Write and Kurzweil are all ones you have to pay for. Read Aloud has, that's all free, part of Microsoft Edge. So, Jason. Yeah, Natural Reader.
Natural Reader, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not definitely all of them. These are the top ones. But we're going to get to this later on in the presentation, though, too. You can't just, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You can't just throw tech at a student and say, here you go, right? You have to engage with that student. You have to engage with the material in order to make that usable for them, and you have to train the student, right? And that's why there's so many, is because the students come in so many different varieties too. It's not one size fits all. It's a lot size fits a big group, but not all, right? Okay. Screen readers. Screen readers and resources for screen readers. So we added this because this is still part of the role. JAWS. is the industry standard for Windows screen readers, right? So if you have a student that is on a Windows machine that is blind, JAWS is going to be the screen reader that they should be trained on. Now, whether you provide the training to them or not, they need training on JAWS. I can see Frank back there nodding his head, right? And the training is extensive, right? But there's training available at other institutions like the Braille Institute. And then there also are individual contractors that can train through the Braille Institute. But the point is they need training, right? And don't feel like you have to be an expert in JAWS. You should know a little bit about JAWS and how to test it and make sure you can follow along with the student. But by no means do we expect expert on JAWS. In 20 years, still not an expert on JAWS.
Let me jump in real quick. Do you guys know that there's actually an educational license that your campus can purchase that can give every student and every staff member JAWS? And it's actually cheaper than the ones we were doing before. So if you have a JAWS license on your campus, check with your people and reach out. So it could save you money and give access to everybody. With that being said, the majority of incoming students that I'm meeting don't use JAWS. They come in with VoiceOver. And so it's interesting to go back and really have conversations about what your population is coming in. So our campus-wide, we have JAWS, but majority of our students are coming in and they go to take a test. They don't know how to use JAWS because they were never introduced to it in high school, but they know VoiceOver. So yeah.
NVDA is a free open source screen reader for Windows, and it's very good, right? And it's absolutely free. So in a pinch, you can use NVDA. VoiceOver, as Brian mentioned, is for the Mac environment, and VoiceOver is wonderful on the Macs and the iPhones and the iPads. It's very easy to train and use, and it can get very complicated quickly. But with VoiceOver on those devices, it makes pairing with Braille devices really easy as well. So students that are Braille users, they're coming in with, or we're loaning out our Braille devices that they can pair with iPads or their phones or computers, right? So they can have a lot more interaction with their device. Narrator is the native Windows operating system screen reader, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Chromebox is also available on the Chrome, and if you have Chromebooks on campus, we do. It is what it is. It's something. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Yeah, so now, Zoom Text and JAWS are combined. So you can have Zoom Text, or Fusion is what they call it, so you can get both. So that's what we've switched over to. So Fusion's installed on your computers. Students can literally go in and pick between, if they want to go JAWS or go Zoom Text, or even a combination of them. So that's a new way. The Mac OS has Zoom. The Windows operating one is Magnifier. Chrome operating system is Chrome Magnify. And I can tell you all of these have gotten 100 times better in the last couple of years. I know that even with several years ago, we wouldn't talk much about the Windows environment, and it's come a long way. And same with Google. They've come a long way with all their accessibility features as well. Any other ones out there that people are using that are not on this list? Because I'm always curious about other options. Yeah. Which one?
Dolphin.
Yeah, got it. Dolphin, yeah. Okay.
Your next slide.
Oh, this is my favorite. My favorite. If you get to know me, one of my absolute favorite things is talking about AI and technology and how students are using it to leverage their success. So when we're talking about tools for note-taking, it's going to really come back down to what the accommodation is. So are you empowering the students to create their own notes? So you give them a digital recorder or an app, and then they go in and create their own notes? Or are you supposed to provide the notes? And if you're providing the notes, are you going tech first? Or are you going with trying to find a peer-to-peer and put someone in there on a regular basis with good quality notes, and you're guaranteed to do it?
Okay.
Anybody use peer-to-peer notes and note takers successfully?
So he's at. Oh, sorry.
Kinda. So kinda, right? a lot of schools are switching to a technology-first approach. So you're going to hear a lot about Glean, which is now Genio. They're here. Please check them out. Otter.ai and Jamworks. So I do have a few students that are using Notability and GoodNotes. And a lot of these can be combined and being used together. So I have students that are using GoodNotes with Otter running in the background. So they're able to take screenshots of what they're writing on their screen with GoodNotes and then do it that way. Apple Notes, Messenger Pigeon, we've used in the past. Messenger Pigeon, they're here too. Please check them out. I haven't seen a lot. Their new technology is AI driven. It used to be called Note Taking Express, where you could upload recordings and they would create notes. But the turnaround times seem to get really bad. Otter AI is the one that we mainly use. Question here, how many people are using Genio? Okay. How many are using Otter? Okay. Anyone using Jamworks? Okay. Any of you using more than one? Okay. Any of you using more than two? Wow, I'm still the only one.
You're still, yeah.
All right. But if
Special.
you want to talk to us afterwards, we can go over more details on the different ones and show you how it works.
Okay. Voice to text. So here are some of the resources that are available for voice to text, dictation. Dragon Naturally Speaking is still used. It's a wonderful app. It also provides voice control. You know, you may get a lot of students coming in that say, I just want to dictate, right? And the counselors say, oh, you need Dragon Naturally Speaking. Yeah, right? Well, and then you meet with the student and they just go, I just have a hard time getting my thoughts down, right? Well, in that situation, I'm not going to employ Dragon Naturally Speaking for a student. Because Dragon Naturally Speaking is a total control of the computer using voice commands. So think someone that cannot manipulate the keyboard or mouse at all or very well. That's Dragon Naturally Speaking. It does take some time to train still, but it's a really good product that you need control over the computer. If you just need dictation, man, voice typing in Google, right? Super easy, quick, turn it on, show them how to do it, show them some commands. We're talking like a 20-minute appointment. Because the student after 20 minutes is like, okay, I figured it out, I'm good, right? Speech within Windows, dictation within Mac, which is really phenomenal too. And then Apple Voice Control. I added this because Apple on their iOS and their computer has the ability to build voice controls which allow you to manipulate, right? I was recently working with a student with CP and they're using text-to-speech on their iPad. So we've converted their books into EPUBs or OER materials like in OpenStax, right? And we're using text-to-speech like Speak Screen, so they can speak the entire screen. And the mother was like, well, I'm making dinner and I have to go back and I have to do another thing so she can read the next page. Anything else that you can do? And I'm like, oh yeah, there's automation. So I can use this program called Shortcuts in iOS and I can build an automation that I can attach with voice control. So now the student just says, read screen, and it does the automation and reads the screen, right? So those are the types of things that you can kind of collab with when you're working with the student, when you understand what you've got at your fingertips, right? And I didn't do this all on my own, right? I used AI to kind of help me problem solve that too. I can introduce you to a wonderful AI tool that we've developed. And if you missed yesterday's session on how to build custom chatbots, man, you missed out. Because we built custom AI chatbots for work, fun, hobbies, play. It's a wonderful resource building these custom chatbots. Okay. Braille. Other resources for Braille, Duxbury Braille Translator. Who's got a Braille embosser? Who's just collecting dust? Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they do sit, right? But we still do need them. We just purchased a brand new one in a cabinet. Again, I never thought I'd see that again. But we did because we have some new Braille users on campus, right? And so we have to make sure we're ready for them. We also bought a new tactile graphic creator too as well.
Same.
Some captioning resources for you. Amara, Cadet, Otter AI, wonderful if you are tasked with creating captions for videos. Those are some tools that you can use to get some transcriptions and produce captions. Cadet is a free source. It's a free browser-based captioning tool by, oh man, what's the name of that? WGH. They're on the UDL task force with you. Lewis? Cast. Thank you. Yes.
WUH. Real close to CAST.
Yeah. No.
We almost had it.
Cast does the captioning for anyway, it goes way back to Sesame Street. Cadet is a free web-based captioning tool that is really good. It's really easy to use. And then there's the native OS accessibility tools and settings. If you don't know these native tools on the devices, you're missing out because, as Brian said, they're getting so much better. So learn them. Apple's got wonderful resources online.
Yeah.
We talked about getting Apple to come out and do accessibility trainings, which they will do, right, for your campus. Windows as well has some wonderful additions to their accessibility tools. So don't be afraid to just think native if you've got a student on their device.
Aaron.
Thank you.
I wanted to add one more resource on the captioning.
Yes.
Leverage the deck grant, because that also will help you out. So
Man.
if anybody hasn't really thought about the deck grant is Chancellor's Office grant. It will help you fund your captioning. It doesn't just fund captioning though now, it'll also fund audio.
What's it called? Distance
So
ed.
if you have a
Captioning,
student with an
captioning,
AAP, like any of their videos can be captioned, as long as that's on their AAP as a requirement.
Yeah.
It'll also do any instructional video. So if any of you folks work outside of just accommodating, like you can use Deck Grant for any instructional content that's delivered distance ed. So it's posted in Canvas, you can use Deck and caption it and get audio descriptions without any cost to your district.
Man, that is a great resource. I'm sorry I forgot it. That is
Yeah.
wonderful. You know why I forgot it is because I don't do it.
Me too.
So the Deck Grant, the instructional designer on your campus, they should be engaged in that Deck Grant. It's instructional videos.
But we can also use it as DSP.
Yes, we can.
Correct.
Yes, we can. Yes.
So you just need to know the resource.
Yeah.
Did you have a?
Well, usually though, it has to be a class that's hybrid or asynchronous. If it's not going to DSPS, I believe it can't be a one-round class.
The delivery method for the video cannot be on ground, yes. So if you think about most of your videos are delivered hybrid. Almost all of your videos are go to Canvas and watch this video, even if it's an on-ground class.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
there's some ways to kind of leverage.
Loophole.
Loophole. We work best within the loophole, the gray area, right? Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the book processing component, right? I have a little demo for you that illustrates the book processing on our campus. Favorite part. All right. So what you just witnessed was one book to be requested from the publisher through the ATPC, downloaded, processed, right? Pulling chapters, converting into Kurzweil, zone editing the book, right? So that the student, when they open it up, it reads correctly and it reads the flow of the book. Uploaded, right? And then contact with the student, right? All of that is what we do, right? As alt media specialists, right? And your process may look similar or it may look a little bit different, but that's the approach that we've taken to ensure that students, when they get the materials that we spend so much time on, use them. Because these students are dealing with reading issues, problems that they've experienced their entire life, and they've just written off reading, right? And you hear the stories. It just doesn't work for me. I've never been able to read my books. And you're telling them that you can do it now, and you can be successful, and you can be engaged in that classroom like you've never been before, and you don't have to fake it anymore. If you just trust us, right, we can change it for you. We can make it so it's usable, but that you can succeed, right? And that's what we do, right? And that's why we do it. And, I've learned that if I don't do that, I don't hear from them. They don't come back, right? So it's good work. We do the work because it's good, and we leave the results up to them, right? Yes, sir.
That was sped up video. How long did it really take you to process that?
I
'Cause
did-
I think it's important to know.
Yeah, because we've all gotten that question too. Like, well, how long does it take? Right? Honestly, I calculated it and averaged out, and it's like 20 hours of actual work, right, for the entire book. And that's like an average. So some can take a lot longer, some can take pretty quickly. Like we have a large database of books that we've already processed, right? Like I'm sure you guys do as well, even though you're not supposed to. But come on, real, right? And yeah, so sometimes it can be just a matter of processing the work order and getting it up there. All right, so let's talk about that process. Okay, so obviously it starts with the application from the student, the intake with the counselor, discussing their needs. Maybe they go through some LD testing to understand their accommodations. The student is engaged then in that process with their counselors. And where does the alt media and the assistive technology conversation begin, right? It usually happens right around the end there with the accommodation. But that process with the student takes time too. And the counselors and the LD specialists, they have a lot of information that they have to talk about as well. And so they don't have the same time and resources that we do, right? So they may be able to introduce it, right? But at a certain point, the student becomes completely overloaded, right? And it's wonderful that we are there now to help in that process and be like, counselors, yes, we know you want to know what this stuff is, and it's important that you do, but by all means, don't feel like you have to go over all of it with them. Like, let them process what they just heard, right? Get that accommodation, and then hand them over, right, to us so that we can take them and start to build a relationship. Because now the work for us just begins, where we need to work with in this system, right? So here's some ideas, some suggestions, right? You should be attending counseling meetings to discuss your process. Let them understand what it takes. Show them that video. I'll send it to you, right? Talk about the bottlenecks, because there are bottlenecks. There are students that drop out of that process, that they don't get that connection from counseling accommodation appointment to alt media or assistive tech. And then, engage the counselors on what they can do to support that. They want to help, right? They are your allies in this process, for sure. I think it's important that you provide trainings for them so that they understand the new tools as well. With AI, with all the new stuff, like they want to know, but they just need to know what's available. And then you might be able to find some creative solutions for those special student issues, because there are a lot of issues that come up that are not ordinary, right? I'd say ordinary in our world, but that's funny. Okay. You should be inviting your counselors to come see the work. Invite them into the lab, invite them into the computer center, invite them into the editing room if you have student workers that are editing. I think I've talked about this enough, right? So
I'll jump in.
We're building it. Go
I
for
think
it.
it's extremely important to understand you're the professional, you're the expert in your area, and you need to be a part of this conversation. So if there's a disconnect between you and the disability specialists that are handing out the technology, especially with alt media, because it could come across that, hey, you're the student, you're going to meet with me, and all of a sudden you're going to have your book just like that. It doesn't work like that. Especially, I mean, how many of you get students ahead of the semester, or are most of you bottlenecked at the beginning of the semester and everybody comes in at once? And then you have to get the syllabus and you have to be like, hey, I can give you a couple chapters here and here, and you're going this way. If you can get the rest of your team in the DSPS area to understand, right? Not the 2-minute video, but the 20-hour one, to understand that alt media process takes time, especially if it's if the OER doesn't have any ISBN numbers associated to it. You got to completely do it, especially OER and math. So we had a
Yeah, you kind of made me think of something like a lot of times. So we use Ames as our system.
Great.
They'll usually like ping me on a Brock just AT. I don't do social media, but it's like, oh, the student should get Kurzweil, and I don't know why. So
Right.
It's just like having an actual reason for like if they struggle with like attention, and me doing a presentation, me not knowing they struggle with that is going to be super helpful. So
100%.
yeah, so that just made me like trigger that.
Yeah, we use AIM as well. And then I set it up with the specialist to tag me on Teams. So if they ever have any questions while they're meeting with them, I'll answer right back just to get that flow going. So
One of the things I kind of wanted to add is along those same lines. In our office, we look at the ATL media specialist as like the implementer, and the counselor as the person who authorizes the accommodation for a need. So passing that need on to me or to the AT specialist or the whole media person allows us to do our professional job in figuring out how to implement that accommodation with the student's input in that process, right? So it might be Kurzweil, but one of the things that I like to say is if I'm working with my counselors really well, if they authorize books in an alternate format, then I get to work with the student to figure out what technology meets that need best for them. And a lot of times it's gonna be Kurzweil, but it might be Natural Reader, or it might be Read the Web, or it might be something different. And when a student comes to me and says, I have to get Kurzweil, that's what my counselor said, I'm like, well, let me figure out why, so that I can try to help you figure out the best way to use the tool they're trying to get you. They're just trying to get you to support. So that's, I think, where this kind of blends in, where we have that professional expertise in helping figure out what technology is gonna work best, and the counselors have the professional expertise of finding out how we need to accommodate the student and merging those two things together.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I just finish this slide? We've only got 15 minutes left, and we got stuff still. Okay, so appointments, some ideas about appointments. Appointments versus walk-ins or drop-ins. Or, hey, can I just grab you for a second? Our time is valuable. Our time is limited. So is the students, right? It's been my experience that if I hold the line on appointments, right, I can get more work done, right? And I can convey that message to the student that their time is just as valuable as mine. And we're going to set up a time. Yes, it may be a week from now, right? But that time is going to be dedicated to you, and we're going to talk about you and what you need, right? And so appointments versus walk-in, for me, it's been the biggest change in having that relationship with the counselors, right? They want to walk them in. They want to just grab us for a second, but we're engaged in a bunch of other stuff, right? So I recommend you having those conversations. Appointments online. If you're not utilizing some kind of online appointment system, you should look into it. Calendly is a great, it's a paid option, but it's wonderful. I pay $100 a year, and I don't care if I get reimbursed because it has saved so many times. Students tend to make appointments at like midnight on Sunday. Right? They come in when I'm not in the office or the front desk is not available. So having some online is important. Freshman orientations to your services, we talked about it yesterday. It's a wonderful idea. If you can get involved, if you have some kind of pipeline from your high schools, see if you can get there, because the accommodations in high school, completely different. They don't use technology for students with learning disabilities, right? So this is their first time being exposed to any kind of technology for their reading, for their attention, for their cognitive issues, okay? I'm gonna move on. So we're building that relationship. We're working toward a solution. The process is probably what you're doing, right? You're high engagement, high touch with these students because you have to get them to trust you. They're exposing something that's uncomfortable for them, right? And so this is important. When I'm working with the student, there's a lot of conversation that has nothing to do with AT or alt media. It's about them as a person.
I think it's extremely important, that rapport you create, because it gives that trust and your students will come back to you, right? And I think that's more than anything. They trust what you're saying. They're like, hey, I'll try it out. I can ask questions, a safe environment for me to do this. And I think it goes a long way for them to coming back for more training and services.
So I want to talk about the AT-AT process. So a couple of years ago, I developed this AT-AT, which is a assistive technology academic tracking tool, right? And what it does is it kind of took this process and put it in a quantifiable format so that I can pull data. And the data has changed the conversation on our campus, right? But this is it in a nutshell. We start with the student and we start with the disability, right? We talk about learning styles, because it's not just about disability. It's about how you learn, right? And I can quickly shift from that conversation with the student to like your learning style. It's so much more comfortable to talk about how you learn, and everyone learns different. Let's talk about how you like to learn, and let's take advantage of that by employing some kind of technology that's going to take advantage of the fact that you're an auditory learner. And then within that, right, we have that access barrier. So those are the parameters that we're working with that student. And the idea is to find that right size solution, right? As Aaron pointed out, it sometimes is not the full version of Kurzweil. If they're all OER PDFs, I can give them Kurzweil, read the web, and they are happy, right? And then maybe for the next semester, we have to go a little bit further, right? Maybe we don't, but it's not about trying to give them everything and then let them figure it out. Like we're talking about, we're the ones that can help them find that. Okay. Workload management. If you're not using one of these student management systems, here's a couple of examples of them: Clockwork, AIM, SAM, right? They all have alternate media modules in them that you can use to help with this workload flow, tracking orders. Part of the guidelines from the Chancellor's office were in having some kind of work order system, some kind of tracking form, so you can say when it came in, what you did with it, and when it went out, right? Those are important keys that you have to be able to report on. Some ideas to use that: Google Forms, right? Other forms. Okay. It's student notification, emails tracking, processing here. I want to, you guys know all this stuff, right? The one thing that you have to have, this one is, you have to have a complaint form. You have to have a mechanism for students to say that they did not get served, right? And that's a hard ego pill to swallow, because we do a lot of work, but sometimes things fall off. Sometimes there's a miscommunication, right? Sometimes there's a student that calls every single day asking where their book is, right? But if you have this process, you have this form, you have this tracking, you have the backing that you need when your director or your dean says, well, what's going on? I have a student that's saying they're not getting served. It's like, well, they contacted me Saturday at noon and they submitted their book, and it's Monday at 9 a.m. So I haven't exactly gotten a chance to do anything other than get coffee and check my email, right?
So just to add to this, for those that may not know, why do we do this? It's all about timely delivery of services. You need to be able to track every conversation, not conversation, but every contact you've had, and show that you're doing your due diligence. This is why we have to do it. It's not a choice. We all have to do it. So even if you're old school like we used to do before we got AIM or Clockwork, and you're using spreadsheets or Google Sheets to track for just yourself, for CYA, right? Because it's going to happen. It's not if, it's, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. OCR lawsuits are going to happen. It's going to come in. Students are going to complain about not getting their books on time. You can go back in and go, oh, well, we met, the disability specialist met on this day. I got the request on this day. I didn't get the receipt to this day. I started production on this day. You're covered. So timely delivery service.
Yeah, and they go, oh, that's good information to have. Thanks. I'll go back to the student. This is an example of a tracking sheet. This is, man, that's just Google Forms, Google Docs using tracking. Okay, last slide, I promise. So we've got what, 6 minutes? Wonderful, perfect, right on time.
Perfect.
So AI is changing it, guys. It's completely changing the game. We have a session this afternoon on AI as an accommodation. I hope you guys can find time in your schedule to join that conversation because we set this up as because we don't know. We don't know what that's going to look like. If you haven't gotten one of those requests yet from a counselor, like, hey, say, I got a student that is asking for AI for an accommodation. What do we do? What does that look like? They're going to come.
But yeah,
right?
it's not if or when, it's now.
Yeah.
We've actually at El Camino had an official request this last semester. Not this semester, the semester before last. And we'll talk about that tonight.
Yeah.
But the ins and outs and the pushback, and it's still going through some higher process because the faculty pushed back.
Yeah.
So yeah, come see that.
Yeah, we're hoping to have a really good discussion. So we need your voice in that. We want the counselors involved as well, directors involved in that too, because it's going to take the whole department to figure out what that looks like. Okay.
Yeah, AI is not just a tech aspect. It's not just our job. This is going to be campus-wide. So you want it. All right, questions?
Questions? Yes. Oh my goodness, I love it. You had your hand up first, my dear. That's a great idea.
Good point.
Yeah, she said send it to the instructors. Yeah.
This is why we need it ahead of time, not the week before a test is done or the semester starts.
Yeah.
So, pertinent as Proctor, looking at possibly kind of break into the multi specialist role.
Wonderful.
What would you say are some good qualifications or educational pathways to try to set myself up for success?
Oh crap, I have a degree in geology. So, and business, but like, it's a great question.
Grab our card because I think it's a longer answer. I'm thinking of a whole list of things off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
computer science, computer, educational technology. I'm sure there's some other people in this room that have been through school a lot more recent than I have. So, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, thanks for being here. I appreciate you listening. Yeah. Frank.
Great
Ooh.
question. Great
Yeah.
question.
Edit books with AI.
So I've been to several presentations at CSUN that give me hope because they're showing how it's automatically processing things in the background, even giving description of images. You still need a human to go back over to double check it, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Jamworks.
getting real close.
Talk to Jamworks.
Yeah,
talk to
talk to
Jamworks in the vendor session.
You mentioned Calendly for appointments.
Yes.
Is it compatible with SARS or Colleague, or are you using it in separate?
No, not with SARS, but you can integrate it with Zoom, right? So you can have like online appointments and the Zoom link gets sent right to them. No, if I use Calendly, then I have to manually input into SARS. But there is eSARS, which is an online scheduling program, but SARS is so just lacking in its ability to be.
We use Starfish, or my ECC Connect now, and it's all connected through, and that's what we primarily use.
Yeah.
And then I have it synced to my Outlook calendar to help with that. So that's what we use to do it.
It's basically, it works with the calendar sync only really, as
Yeah.
far as the programs that we use for scheduling.
Yeah.
The only reason it does interact is as long as your calendar sync works with whatever management or then it will work. SARS doesn't really have that option.
And are you using stars to capture for barge reporting also, or you're doing it randomly to colleagues?
We're using our AIM to capture all that information. Others would probably use Clockwork.
So AIM is talking back to your.
No, we actually have to put and add it to that as well. So we have to manually add that, at least for us. But we're using old versions of AIM. I know there's other people using newer versions, so someone might be better off. Yep.
Karen.
I have a question about AIM. So you're talking about the workflow and tracking and all of that. But that takes buy-in, doesn't that take buy-in from the students that have to go in and like request that through the AIM system?
We actually force the buy-in. So you have to go through AIM. You have to sign in.
Yeah.
You have to go through our portal to do it. You have to request it through AIM in order to get an appointment. So that's the buy-in. So if we waited for everybody to buy in, we'd never get anything done. So
Yeah,
for
that's-
us, we created a portal.
Yeah, the book request form online is like, that should be the way that they request books.
Yep. And
Well-
test accommodations.
And testing combinations,
Yep.
yeah. We can talk all day about that, yeah.
I'll throw out one other perspective on that, because I completely agree that that should be the way, but if you so choose that that is not the way for you can still manually enter them in.
Sure,
So like,
sure.
and I just want to make sure that like people know that you can manually enter them in. It's not convenient. It's much better when the student does it, and we get a lot, like, you provide that kind of process. They also get used to doing this for all the different services we offer if you have one of those systems that has online requests. But you can manually enter in an all-media request.
I just wanted to back up to the young lady in the back who asked. Through the Starfish, we do for MIS reporting, we do check off within that environment. We do have to back up our data and put our other information in through AIM, but it does track it through ECC Connect.
Cool. All
Forgot
right,
about that
we are at time right now. It is lunchtime right now, so I don't want to break into your lunch. So if you have questions, you can come ask us after. Really appreciate you guys'
Thank you,
attention
guys.
and being here.
Oh, good.
Killed it.